All right, everybody, welcome back to Matt Money, members only exclusive. I'm just gonna let you guys know. Kris called me today, and he was like, "Guys, not guys, but Matt, we have to stop talking about NEXT next decade." And the reason being is because the stock is currently trading down by a pretty significant portion or margin because, and let me, I guess, maybe just pull up the chart. So basically, you got FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee. Basically, I could be getting one of those words wrong, but generally speaking, that's what it is. It's just a regulatory body that looks after energy and gives people the opportunity to invest into or make sure that all the investments and everything that are going on in the country are okay. Ignore all these different things up here, especially if there's pornography. There's not, but just kidding. You can see this thing was going on a run, and there's a bunch of reasons why they're about to sanction Train 4. They're actually making really good progress, but boom, here early August, and I wrote an article on Seeking Alpha about. I'll probably put it in the description of this video, but you guys probably already know. The DC Circuit ruling came back basically saying, you know what? You guys are done. You're done. You guys need to expand more on your EIS, your environmental impact study. And that's why this pulled back significantly. Well, during this time, I think people were expecting NextDecade to stop construction, stop everything, and basically to say, okay, DC Circuit ruling, you win. You got it done. You know what you're doing, and we're just going to sit here and wait. But they're appealing it. They're obviously not listening to the DC Circuit ruling. They're continuing construction, and so basically, Kris, Patel, and I are like, "This is bullish, right?" And then we're starting to hear a lot, and this isn't something that you can get here readily available. You have to dive deep. But some of the things we're hearing, and I'm about to show you something from President Trump, and I'm not making this political, right? In terms of like, hey, you need to vote for Trump or anything of the like, or, you need to vote for Kamala. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is specifically for Alpha, for this particular company, if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be something great in terms of this particular company's Alpha. And also, even what Kris Patel was talking about to me, don't tell him I told you this because he told me to keep it a secret, but you guys remember, so you guys need to know and why I'm so bullish on NEXT and why I'm loading. And don't tell anybody, right? This is just for you guys, and it'll be our little secret. Basically, even like the local councilmen, the representatives that are going after councilship in those particular districts are like, this thing needs to happen for the growth of our particular counties and for the citizens of our counties and everything they like. So both of them are like, we have to come to an amicable solution in order to get this environmental impact study rewritten and done. And so it's just interesting. But I want to chime in here with something important that I heard. And this isn't necessarily strictly important for just NEXT, but just regulations in general, which could impact things like nuclear and a bunch of other things as well. But immediately, I would say impacts NEXT to a good extent. So even if you're a little bit scared about the risk of investing in NEXT due to the fact that it does have the EIS pause due to the DC Circuit ruling, if Uncle Donnie gets back in office, you could be like, oh, this is kind of something. And he speaks specifically to it in this video. Just take a listen.
They would.
So it's your belief that if you had a second term, given the policies in place, the way the economy was booming, that you would have been.
And I'm providing some context here, right? It doesn't go directly into this, but I think this whole piece of it is pretty interesting from what you can expect potentially from a Donnie administration.
Able to pay off a lot of the debt, and
if
that was the strategy.
If we didn't have COVID, we would have been paying off debt, and we would have had. And don't forget, by growth, the word growth is actually more important in a way because you could have the same debt, but if you doubled your growth, all of a sudden you're under-levered. But still, we should pay off debt. If you viewed this $35 trillion right now, it's a lot. But if you look at the asset value, if you looked at it purely as an asset value, we have oil underground, we have water, we have mountains, the assets are so enormous. But regardless of that, We've got 35 trillion in debt. We should pay it off. And we would have started paying off debt and probably even given further tax reductions. I want to get it down to 15%. We're going to do more business. But when you get hit with a COVID, everything stops and you have to keep these businesses alive. The businesses were dying. I mean, they were just dying. This whole place, this country was going to die.
Are there influences outside of environmental that keep people from wanting to drill for oil and frack and do those sort of things outside of the environmental concerns, which are legitimate, of course?
No,
but,
I understand.
But are there other influences that may be over accentuate or over exaggerate these environmental effects? Are people being influenced in a way where they're trying to keep us from producing American oil?
Yeah. So the environmental is the biggest tool for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere, even if you do everything, it's becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order to get people not to do anything. And sometimes I say, I look at some of I know the environmental stuff better because I had to build buildings in New York. I had to do environmental impact studies. And I would see some of these guys that I'd hire for a lot of money, environmentalists that would get you through the process. And they'd be up in Albany, that's the capital of New York, and they're up there trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders because they'd get paid more money. In other words, I had one guy, highly recommended. I was good at getting permits. I was one of the kings of. I was always very good, but the environmental stuff was always horrible. They could slow a project down 10 years, 15 years. I had a project in Louisiana, built big LNG plant. It was for 14 years.
Not NEXT, but comparable.
Years. It was going to cost $18 billion. One of the biggest, like the Empire State Building, laying down on its side times 4. Massive on the coast, on the Gulf Coast. And they said, sir, they're going to give it up. I said, they shouldn't give it up. What's the problem? They can't get their environmental. They had environmental permits that would fill this whole room up to the ceiling. And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They want them to do it all over again. It's not going to happen. And I got them their permit instantly.
Why don't you own apartment buildings? Seriously, why don't you own these big apartment?
And they built a plant. It's massive.
So when you're saying that, there's people that are making money by making it difficult.
Yeah.
Are you talking about lawyers?
No, I'm talking about environmental consultants and lawyers.
Environmental consultants profit off of dragging out the process.
Absolutely.
And how
they
do
make
they
the
profit?
process worse.
How do they profit?
And I'd
off
probably
that?
do the same thing if I were them, to be honest with you.
As a
I want to be honest with you.
How do they do that? How do they make it?
Let's say New York, they go to Albany.
Okay.
And they convince people that if you have a certain type of plant on the ground that's this big and in theory valueless, that it's a rare plant and you cannot ever even touch it. You can't go near it. You can't put a building on it. You can't do anything. Or there's a little puddle and they call it a lake. And you have to go by the standards of a lake. I said, no, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling a little puddles. You have no idea what they do.
And
they use it as a way to stop you.
They use it as a way to stop you and also as a way to generate money. I'm curious how are they generating money that way, though?
Well, they get fees.
They get fees.
Massive fees.
And
you pay these guys.
People rely on them as experts because they're the people that they go to when they have to run these studies in the first place.
But some of them are just bad guys, and they're trying to make it more and more difficult.
And they have a lot of power.
Anyway, this dives into that. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to go more political into left versus right and things of the like. But I did just want to bring that up and share that with you guys, that there is a potential positive leg associated with this. And within 10 days, literally, you'll be able to decide like, oh shit, like this is something that's going to be more positive, right? And for those of you who don't know much about NEXT, I'll just leave it at this. It's currently a $1.5 billion company. And it'll basically, within 5 to 10 years, maybe more like 7 to 10 years, have potentially 5 trains online, potentially a 6th. But with the 5 trains online, it'll be making about $1 billion to $1.5 billion in distributable cash flow. So that's like profit that can be used for buybacks, debt pay down, whatever. And they have favorable terms. Like a lot of this debt pay down is going to be over the course of 30 years, so it's not like it needs to be done today, right? These loans that they got are very long term loans, and so they don't necessarily have like a strict wall of debt or anything of the like. But they own 20 or so percent with the opportunity to get up to 40% of the first few trains, and then the fourth and fifth train I think is very comparable. I think they own up to 60% of those other trains, which is why the distributable cash flow is so much more. And I think there's optimization to be done as well. Like even though they say that they'll be able to get, what is it, 17.6 and up to 25 million tons per annum through these ports, if they get up to the 5 trains, I honestly think that there's the possibility where they'll be able to optimize it, get closer to 29 to 30, just with a little bit of optimization. So with that, you could sell, what's the word I'm looking for? Excess shipments, which are spot prices. And if you're able to do spot, then you're able to sell to Japan or whomever. And if NextDecade gets a trading team, then that's where they can rake the real money, because they could be buying it here at Henry Hub prices and selling it to somebody else and getting a crap ton more for those potential shipments. So there's possibilities and things around that. But of course, we have to get over this environmental study first and then finish. And I'm curious to see when the 3Q earnings come out. Generally speaking, they always talk about specifically what percentage train 1 is done in terms of completion. So the train 3 is done procurement, and they've gotten all the engineering and everything done, but they have yet to start any work in terms of construction on train 3. But train 1 and 2, they're kind of actually started construction. So interested to see where they are, because train 1 I think is supposed to start second half of 2027. So we're getting within 2.5 years of that potentially being in first gas. So anyway, I'll leave it there for you guys. Much appreciated for being members, and let me know if there's any other specific companies that I cover, right? Don't just be like, Matt, can you tell me about Bluebell Nuclear? It's like, I don't know anything about Bluebell Nuclear, my guy. Like, if you have something you want me to check out, maybe I will, but no guarantees, right? I invest very deeply in, to specific ideas, and I stick to it and do a lot of due diligence. So I'm not that kind of guy that calls out 18 stocks a month, so hopefully this helps, and I'm holding on to it. I'm actually probably going to double my position here on Monday for this particular stock. I already have 4,000 shares at $6. So what's that, 24 grand? I might put another 24 or so into it. I did show you guys that I had some puts sold. I might just buy those back, because I think I could buy them back for a couple pennies here or there. It's nothing too extravagant. And it looks like they're all at $5 anyway, so they probably won't make any. They won't be able to buy any stock. They won't get put any stock. So I'll just take that capital. I'm really just hoping my Nvidia gets called away. I don't know where I'm going to get the money from. I'm really just hoping Nvidia gets called away or something. And if it does, within the next month or two, I'll be able to buy more. But by that point, who knows? Maybe it'll already run. But I see a huge potential associated with this, right? It's $1.5 billion company. The future cash flows are going to be $1 billion to $1.5 billion. So you do the math. I mean, even at a conservative rate, it's 10x price to cash flow. You're going to be at about a $10 billion market cap, and you're only at a $1.5 billion. And I anticipate it might be more, once they get everything optimized. So they'll buy back stock, they'll do dividends, etc. And how fun would that be, in 5-10 years? So cool. Anyway, you guys rock. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.